Came out to recap the day. I think I want to start most of these. I should start these videos with like a little text thing that says verbal failures, an exquisite exercise in failing to failing to speak what's realized. I watched so many videos for such a long time of other speakers, non-duality speakers, awakening speakers, and even now I'm amazed at how they can sound so really well put together. And I'm not criticizing that at all, but when I heard it as I was moving through various stages of feeling like I was just being completely unraveled, I can remember just feeling like everyone sounds like they know so much. They know they have so much to say, and it's also well put together. And I never understood that, or I don't understand it because I don't know what to say sometimes, or if I have a flash to sit down and record something, I'm like, I don't know anything. Like there's just nothing here. And it's just weird. I ask myself, is this it? Is this where we land? It would seem that way. I made a video earlier today that I was trying to describe what it was like to not experience, I guess, like an inside as opposed to an outside, like an internal world, or be able to look inside anymore, or just scan with my attention into something other than this. And it's so crystal clear when it's experienced. It's really, really just, I don't know what the word is. Is it poignant? Maybe poignant. It's so obvious. And then when I start to try to describe it, I just completely lock up. So that's the verbal failures of trying to describe this process. And it was just amusing, sort of reflecting on the day. And we can go through so many states, and while moving through those states, there's this crazy sort of automatic stillness that happens. That's constant no matter what's happening. Today there's been the entire range of emotions, from waking up and being sort of giddy and curious and mischievous and a little snarky, and then I went to work and immediately took on, it's like it took on the persona of being at work. And when I'm around that group of people, like a whole speech pattern just shows up, because that seems to be what's appropriate in the moment. Then as the workday was winding down, then it was just sort of a mellow whatever, just kind of a neutral sense. Then there was the driving home and realizing that there wasn't really an internal, like an actual internal direction that I could look, that there isn't an inside that I could look at. So I made the video I love shot the video. It sounds like we're on a big movie set, right? Uh, with the whole crew. And then I made the video, and then, made dinner and sat around. And at some point, I don't really look at these too much, but I wanted to see what the videos. I don't really look at them after I film them. There we go again. It's a production set. I don't really look at them back, but I wanted to check the audio quality, and had a kind of a feeling that I might not have been articulating stuff clear. And I noticed as I was watching it back, it felt, there was sort of a pang, like a sort of a bitter feeling of like, I missed it. And this is so difficult to talk about. And in it, I wasn't trying to describe some like crazy enlightened state, or even some success. It was like, rather it was describing just something that made me go, oh, huh, that's peculiar, or that's odd, or that's fascinating, to not have an inner area to move the attention to anymore. And then something crept in, and as soon as that crept in, there was a reaction. And it was definitely like an old projection that came up of that this needs to be articulated very clearly. And then the resistance to not being super excited about the video showed up. And when that stuff happens, it's palpable. It's like a whole clench where I just didn't like it, and there were some thoughts that were still pretty active, and then the body reacted to those, and then the whole center of my body just kind of clenched up. And then I just sat with it again. And it was probably a good 10 or 15 minutes of just feeling like I couldn't move, like I didn't want to move. Like there was some frustration there in knowing that I couldn't distract from anything. I don't know if I really wanted to distract, but maybe knowing that I had the option, or just knowing. It's like, okay, let me try to describe it this way. You don't want something until you know you can't have it, right? And if it's all of a sudden removed, it seems like you crave it, or it feels really, really weird when it's not there, especially if it's some type of safety mechanism. Or like, here's a weird analogy. We got a notice a few months ago that they were going to be working on the water main down the street. And it was going to be off from, I don't know, 10 to 12 or something. And everything was fine. And 5 minutes before before they shut off the water, I wasn't thirsty. I wasn't even really thinking about water. I was just going about my day. And then the water shut off, and I lifted the handle up of the faucet to check it, and the water fizzled out, and something said, well, you can't get any more water for right now. And then bam, instantly thirsty. So it's very similar to that. I mean, the situation wasn't any different, right? I had walked a million miles in the desert or just run a marathon, and all of a sudden I was really thirsty and really needed a drink of water. So it's a very similar type of thing when you don't have that coping mechanism anymore. And so I just sat with it. And sometimes that's really all we can do. My running theme this week has really been on managing this process, or the really ridiculous attempts to manage this process. I have the urge to share, to record, and I'm not in charge of that urge. That urge just shows up, and then I will sit down and press record, and it's fucking gibberish that comes out. But I was sitting on the couch and was maybe trying to consciously decide, okay, I'm not going to record, and all of a sudden my body got up on its own and walked out, and there was a nice little place to sit, and my little tripod was there ready to go, and then all of a sudden I sat down and pressed play and started recording, and so you don't, I mean, there's no managing any of it, and I think that can be really hard when we're trying to have control over things. That's all I've ever done, is try to manage life. And I tried doubly hard in managing the awakening, especially after a first shift, a first aha moment, where mine came after a 3-day intense period of total, of silence and meditation, and then something broke wide open, and that equated to a formula to me. Okay, 3 days meditation, shift in perception and identity. That's the formula. So if I wanted that again, then I knew what to do. At least I thought I knew what to do. 3 days of meditation, and boom, I get a shift, or some type of similar focus. And it's just not the way that works. It's like we can't help the managing, though, and the flailing around. When the flailing happens here, it's always felt like I'm like a dog that's on a shorter and shorter and shorter leash. Or if you've seen the old cartoons where there's a prank and there's like a dog and a cat, and the cat will stand just outside of the reach of the dog who's in his doghouse, and he's on a chain, and the cat knows how long the chain is, so he taunts the dog and then runs away, and then will stand over here, and the dog will just come barreling out ready to kill him. And then right before the dog is able to pounce on him, the chain tightens up, he's run out of chain, and it just chokes him and he falls. And that's exactly what it feels like, only that chain keeps getting backed up and backed up and backed up. And it's like any semblance of self-will. Any semblance of there's the separate person here, that there's the Ted here that's going to try and do a thing or avoid a thing. Any sense of choice in the matter is just being ripped out, and not always gracefully so. And many times it's extremely painful. It seems the way the personality is configured here, the way my personality is, that most of the time it's going to take endless repetition and dozens or hundreds and hundreds of attempts, maybe even at the same type of control, and running out to the end of that chain before something gives and finally goes, okay, just stop, or the energy of that trying that the energy kind of finally fizzles out, and I'll laugh to myself and go, wow, you are the most stubborn, obstinate, and dumbest motherfucker in the game. especially when I used to do a lot of comparison and watch videos about people with much softer personalities and talk about, and I'm not mocking him, I'm just, putting a voice to it. Yeah, actually, part of me loves it, but also, I was just sitting there and I was very still, and all of a sudden, and it blew away like the breath, like, like the whisper of an angel's wings, and then it just was gone. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And where's mine? I'd like two, please. Sorry, I don't want to just sit here and laugh, but that's all you can do anymore. It's just, sometimes you just laugh. I mean, other times there's tears, or there's just like massive resistance. This is fucking bullshit. And it's like you're beating your fists against the wall, going that you're just gonna turn your hands into stumps. And always underneath, no matter how much resistance there's the absolute sense of it, the inevitable sense of it, that this is all the way it's supposed to be. And ultimately, although I don't like to speak in terms of absolute good and bad, but ultimately it's beneficial, right? Because there's less of me here, less of the illusion of me here, and more of just this. And the stakes do go up. That's been another common theme. The stakes go up in identifying in thought, or moving in old behavior, identified behavior patterns, or picking up old beliefs again, and the way they physically manifest in the body. It's just like the repercussions and the backlash are almost instant, and it's like grabbing, it's like grabbing an electrified fence. It's you grab it and it's just everything. Just, you're like, oh fuck. You're trying to pry your hands off, and it's like you can't even pry your own hands off. Because that would be you doing something. It's like you're just sitting there waiting for somebody to turn off the fence. You're like, somebody turn off the fence, please. So, and then the fence gets shut off, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, maybe I won't do that again. I don't know if it's like that for anybody else, but it's like that here sometimes. So, I think that's it. It's about bedtime. This was good. Until next time. More failures next time. Okay, bye.